If you build your course using an iterative process, you can start on your own, but you will need to get help eventually. So let's take a look at how this might work in a hypothetical situation. Kate here, we're going to talk about how to build a team to help you launch your course. Now, so many people think of launching their course as like being in an isolated place and being by yourself and punching keyboard, and then all of a sudden this finalized course just pops out of nowhere, out of the nether, and you put it online, people line up and they buy it. But that's not actually how it works, and not in a good design. If you want to do your course in a good way, in a way that actually involves your audience as you're forming this course, the iterative process is the way I would recommend. And it allows you to build an audience. It allows you to form your course as you go. It is more work, but at the end, you're more likely to have a course that people really want because people have had a say in how it works for them. So let's take a look at this hypothetical situation. And this is a situation in which you start at like, oh, I think I have an idea, all the way to having a completed course. Now, along the way, I'm going to ask you, at the end of this iteration, is this a course that's worth pursuing? And that's an important question to ask yourself, because failing is a good thing here. The earlier you fail, the better. So you could try a couple of ideas and find out they don't work before you find one that does work. And sometimes it actually is the same thing, but maybe you've said it in a different way or you've given it a different perspective, and then all of a sudden it lands. It's crazy how that works, but a lot of times it takes a little work to get it working just right for you. So let's start with phase one. This is a proof of concept. Basically, you want to say, is this even an idea worth pursuing? You want to toss out an idea. You don't want to put a ton of work into it. You just want to toss an idea out to see if it works. So phase one, your action is that you get an idea for a course, and then you use organic marketing. Now I'm going to say organic marketing, but really what I mean with organic marketing is like, just be in touch with people that you can really get to know and kind of have like a social media online relationship with them. Or it could be people that you know in person who are representative of your ideal audience. And so these people have problems and that you have a solution for. And you'll give these people early on with this early option, a way to opt in to getting a solution to their whatever their pain points are, whatever they're looking for, whatever they're trying to achieve. They'll get an option to get in on that on the ground floor. They're not buying a course that's already done and already tested out and already out there. You just have an idea and you want to say, hey, I'm thinking about running a webinar, or I'm thinking about running a workshop on fill in the blank. It's only going to be $27, $47, whatever you want to put it out there. It's only going to be this small investment. Who's interested? And then just look for a few people who may be interested in what you're doing. At the end of this is super key. Do a group interview with those people who opted in. The reason that they're opting in at this low price is because it's not complete. They should know this up front. Hey, I have this idea to run this course and I'm just going to run this test thing. At the end, ask them, how did it work for you? Ask them key questions about the key outcomes that you really want for them to see if it makes sense to do it in this way. Take their feedback. That is the most valuable part of this phase one, is just take their feedback on this proof of concept. Do you think it could work? Have them describe a lot of those situations and use that information. If you can record that interview, if you can have them write stuff out, that's all very, very valuable information. You're going to take that, and if this is an idea worth pursuing, you're going to take that information and you're going to incorporate it into phase two. So phase two is not quite a proof of concept because you've done it once. I don't really consider it to be a beta either. I'm just going to call phase two in this particular way. I'm going to call it your rough draft. This is where you're going to do minimal course design. You're just going to throw out ideas and you're going to test them out, like workshop on creating apple pie. I know I use that example all the time, but it's so easy to do. Should probably change that to making coffee because I love coffee. But you're going to do a course on apple pie. And so you might do how to create the dough. I'm going to talk about how to choose the right apples. I'm going to talk about how to prep the apples. I'm going to talk about the different types of spices you could use. I'm going to talk about pie shape being round or doing like a cobbler, which could be square or rectangle. So you could talk about all these different things and you put them in an order that makes sense to you and you create your rough draft. You're going to update the content based on everything you learned in your proof of concept, incorporated that in this one, and use, again, organic marketing to build a larger class for an increased price. And you want to do this workshop or this webinar, this course, you want to do it a number of times because you want to get as much feedback as possible. That's what you're looking for in this phase. Actually, that's kind of what you're looking for in all phases. And that is the whole point of doing an iterative design, is because you can take back feedback. So if an activity didn't make sense, clarify the activity, get rid of the activity, use a different activity. You can figure out like what is not clear for them. So what you might need to add, what you might need to eliminate, what you might need to change. Those are really key things to figure out. And if everybody is doing well on this, then this might be a time to move forward. An important question to ask is what that class was worth. If they paid $47, hopefully they're saying at least $47, but this might give you an indication of what you can price it for the next time around. So when you finish phase 2, you're going to do the evaluation again. You're going to figure out what questions they asked, like I said, and make those changes. You're going to do some group interviews and maybe some one-on-ones. And then you're going to decide, is this worth going forward with? Like, is this something that people find value and would they invest more in it? So you go forward. Phase 3, you are in beta. This is what I would call a beta. And this is where I would start adding some help, which is the whole point of this particular one. Is like, you can do phase 1, you can do phase 2 on your own. When you start getting to this point, you want to start bringing in some people to help you. Or you could do these tasks on your own. Like I'm going to give you some examples of, and you might like not do that one, but you might do this one. So for the beta, I would say, if you can get a virtual assistant or somebody who is an expert at building email sequences, onboarding and offboarding, and live course support if you need it. So that's what you're looking for from a virtual assistant. So look for somebody who's very skilled at doing email sequences, onboarding and offboarding. They can make people feel great as they're coming in. They can make people feel like they got a lot of value as they're exiting. Maybe they can do in that offboarding all of the testimonials and stuff that you'll need in order to continue moving forward. You could add an instructional designer. That's somebody who knows a lot of the stuff that I know. So that instructional designer will help you update that content and really add in a lot of value using what you've already done and what's already successful, but they'll add a lot of stuff in there that is going to help the retention of that thing. So the instructional designer, I know it's a really weird term and a lot of people don't know what it means, but instructional designer is very, very skilled at choosing the right instructional strategies and is an expert in learning design, in adult learning and all those types of things. So you're looking for somebody who can do that. They're going to be able to update your content and turn it from like a lot of times a series of lectures into an actual course. And they're going to help you with the workbooks, a rough draft of what those workbooks look like, and maybe some minimal slides. I'm not a huge fan of doing all slides because I feel like you are a super important part of what makes your course very different from everybody else's. So if you do just slides and none of you, it's going to be a little bit harder to connect with your audience. But some slides are necessary. So your instructional designer should be good at those type of things. This is where you might also want to bring in a marketing expert or an ad expert. And this is where you will want to start. You're going to still do the organic marketing because organic marketing is great for building relationships. It's also great for getting referrals. So you might talk to somebody and say, do you know anyone who would benefit from, and then talk about what your course is. So if it's like building apple pies, like, do you know anybody who loves making things and never seems to come up with anything for Thanksgiving, but would love to do apple pie? Or do you know anybody who feels like they're not really good at baking and would really be, feel a whole lot better if they could make an apple pie? Maybe it's the person you're talking to, or maybe she knows somebody else who's a good fit for your course. So you still want to do organic marketing, but here's where you're going to start adding ads. And you really want to start increasing the cost of your program because you're going to have to pay for these experts and for your ads. And you want to take whatever profit you have and put it into the next version because we're not at the finalized version yet, right? This is just a beta. We just want to see like it's like a test run through somewhat finalized programs. You don't want to think of them as finalized, please. Don't think of them as finalized, because if you think of them as finalized, you're going to resist making changes, and you still want to make changes. Your role in this particular phase is to deliver the course. And this is where you want, by hiring all these experts, you want to start releasing a lot of that stuff, because you have only two very, very important roles in this particular phase and going forward. Those two roles are to deliver the content with great conviction and ability, and to get results for people. When you deliver with great conviction and ability, you're going to be able to create that connection. The connection is important, and you're going to build the results for people. So you're going to be focused. Your head wants to be focused in what you're doing and in what your audience is doing and saying. You don't want to be thinking about the onboarding sequence or the instructional design or anything like that. You want to be focused on your people. That is the most important thing. You also, at this point, may want to bring in a speech expert. This is somebody that you might want to deliver your recorded stuff to, or invite them to be a part of your course so they can give you feedback on what you can do in order to be even better when you deliver your presentation. So think about those type of experts. I mentioned a virtual assistant, an instructional designer, a marketing or ad expert, a speech expert. And at the end of this, you want to evaluate, how did it all go? In the evaluation, you can use your instructional designer. I have had lots of experience with evaluation, as most instructional designers have. So your instructional designer can help you look at, what is it you're trying to achieve and what did you actually achieve? And since you have the instructional designer for the other stuff, might as well use them for this. Your instructional designer can also create formal evaluation tools and analyze the results of them. And at the end, you want to look for what questions you had, just like you've always done. Examine the ad analysis, see how well your ads ran. Use your ad expert for a lot of this, because if you're new to ads, you don't want to try and guess on this. You want to use and leverage the experience of somebody who knows what they're doing. Examine the value of your team. Did the ad expert deliver? Did the instructional designer deliver? Was the speech expert worth it? Was your virtual assistant worth it? At this point, you're going to have to make some very easy or very difficult decisions of, let's move forward with this team, or this team is not working and I need to maybe fix it. Until you have that team figured out, you may actually stay in this phase until you get all of those bugs worked out. When you feel like everything is working out, now you're ready to create your pilot. And that's phase 4. Now your pilot is the finalized materials. You still want to leave room for making minor tweaks, but at this point, your class should be 90 to 95% done, and you want it completely finalized. So this is where you would bring your virtual assistant to update all the systems. Make sure that your virtual assistant has looked at all the email sequences, the onboarding, the offboarding, making sure that everything works exactly as they want it to, because you want a finalized version of this. You want your instructional designer to update the design, like what parts of the design didn't work according to the instructional designer. Listen to the instructional designer. They're an expert in this. If you feel like there's a rapport with it. And then this is where you would also bring in a visual designer, because as you're getting ready to finalize those materials and maybe turn this into an automated evergreen course, you want those things to look amazing. So hire a visual designer who can look at all the content, all of the customer facing content, including all the emails and all the workbooks and all the slides, and maybe even what you're wearing, and bring it all together in a cohesive feel. So it looks like you, it looks like it fits you and your course and your people. Get a visual designer who's not just interested in making it look pretty, but making it resonate with your audience. So when they show up for the course, it feels like it was made for them. So that is the value of a visual designer. You still want to use your marketing and ad expert to oversee the marketing and the ads, make sure everything's on target, because things change. And then you want to deliver at your most polished and excellent level. And hopefully you've worked with that speech coach or speech expert to deliver at that. And then at the end, you want to evaluate it all. This is supposed to be finalized. So at this point, you're hoping that it's just needing tweaks. That being said, you still want to ask yourself, is this worth scaling? Is this something that can be automated? There's some courses and coaching programs that really can't be automated too easily, but there are many that can. And this is where it is difficult sometimes to make the decision about going forward with like a fully automated course in which there's no one to talk to because you've worked out all the bugs and everything is laid out and it feels very aligned with everyone. Or if you still need to be involved in the process, do you still need to be delivering content in some way? Maybe you don't deliver the course content, maybe you deliver a Q&A in some way, or maybe they go through the course and they have a group call with you. So there's lots and lots of options, but I want you to consider the types of things you could do with a finalized course as you move forward. So the whole point of this particular video is to drive home this idea that you can scale, starting just from yourself and then hiring all these experts to fill into the gaps as you move forward. Can you create a course today? Yes, you could create a course next week. Now, it won't be that finalized course. It takes time, but you could start with that phase one. I have an idea for a course. Is anybody interested? I have an idea for a workshop on such and such. Who's in? That type of thing. You can do that today and you can do it on your own. But then as you create that finalized thing, start accepting the help because you are worth it. Your course is worth it. Your audience is worth it. So I hope this gave you an idea of how an iterative design works so that you can start on your own and then get a whole team. And feel free to watch all the other videos because there's plenty other to choose from. Like and subscribe.